There was a lot of things actually that did come and were found that people paid a lot of money. Like that was one of many that different people and us paid a lot of money for. And like I said, that was the gamble you take. Like, okay, I'm going to get this.
Well, yeah, you win some, you lose some. I mean, there were some animals we paid a ton of money for that didn't work out. There were some animals we didn't pay a lot of money for that worked out really, really well.
And that was the game.
And that was the game you played. And it's a tight breeding snakes. It's like what I used to call a speculative breeding market, right? So like when you're buying a clown and you're buying a pied, you know what you're getting. But when you start speculating with genes out of the wild, you never know what you're getting. You could get something crazy. It could be something else. And then you also got to keep in mind that a lot of the people that were dealing in West Africa were not good people either.
What I was trying to get out of it, what I was saying I didn't then, but now I can kind of get it, is like, what if there was a scientific way to do that? Like
GMO?
I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist. Have a ball python and you do catch it in the wild, okay? And through whatever freaking science probe or just take a little DNA strand out of it, and then you can tell.
So you're talking Jurassic Park.
Well, maybe. No, I don't know.
See, this is the thing. They were like taking.
I'm not a scientist.
You can map the locus that it's on. Yes. You can do that, but only if it's reproducible.
I know we're past the viper. I know the viper's no longer reproducible.
But there's just there's the money it would cost to do it. Yeah. You could just breed the animal yourself
and find out.
Yeah, I mean, because it's going to cost you $50,000 just to find and maybe 2 years, depending on who it is, to find the thing. You could just do it yourself and not. So there's no need for it. So I had thought about early on in the ball pythons when bananas were $63,000 and stuff like that. I talked to some geneticists about, hey, could we actually locate that and start artificially inseminating into and doing, and it just the finances just didn't make sense. It's just nature is nature, and also the fact that ball pythons go from $50,000 to $500 before you would have the genetics behind it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So.
In 2 years, it could go down that much value.
And it had. I mean, the banana was a perfect example. It went from $63,000 to under $200 in 4 years.
Yeah,
it's really crazy.
Yeah, think about that.
And it's a hard place because, personally, obviously, I don't breed reptiles like you guys do. I'm just born into the family, so, But like, it's cool that people can have such a beautiful snake at a value like that.
Well, I'm actually now I'm happy about it, right? Because we don't sell investment snakes, right? Like we stopped selling investment snakes about 4. That doesn't mean that people can't buy them and produce them and make money on them. That's not way. We just don't sell investment snakes as that way. But some people still buy thousands of dollars worth of snakes from us. But we don't say, hey, buy this and produce it and make more. It's up to you if you want to do it, and if you want advice, we'll do it. But we're not selling you as an investment anymore. So I'm actually happy that some of these animals that used to be out of touch are now in touch. I mean, the fact that you could buy a pied for $400 is freaking awesome.
That is awesome.
I mean, that's a beautiful snake for very cheap.
Yeah, how much did we pay for our first?
$25,000.
And it died.
And it died 7 days later.
Whoa, that sucks.
That would make you want to shoot you in the foot.
And we didn't get anything for that either.
Yeah, it literally. Like, and what happened was, I won't talk about who I got it from, but this was before it was proven.
What's it rhyme with? No, I'm just
So this was before it was proven genetic. So this is a wild caught male, and we bought it from a guy that had it, and I got it, and literally I was like. The minute I got it, I called him. I was like, dude, because no emails, no text. Call him up, and I said, dude, this animal doesn't look good, man. It's like it was like half the weight it should have been. I'm like, I'm really scared. And he was like, dude, you're just stressing out, blah, blah. He goes, don't worry. And I go, well, what if something happens to this animal? And he's like, I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. Literally 7 days later, I come in, open the drawer, it's dead. And I call him up, and he's like, dude, I can't guarantee that, man. What am I gonna do? And I just had to eat the money. Yeah, we had to just eat it, And but like I said, I would have sent it back because I wasn't happy from the minute I got it. Now the good news, that there was good news about this, is that a guy named Ernie Wagner out in Seattle, who was a legend in the industry for many, many years. Still around, but he just doesn't really do any animals anymore because he's probably, got to be in his 80s by now.
Around?
Yeah, he's got to be in his 80s now. But Ernie had actually bred a pied and produced heterozygous gene carriers.
Okay.
But it wasn't proven that it was genetic yet. So Ernie called us up and said, "Hey, I heard you lost this pied." He had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But he felt bad for me, and he said, "Hey, I was trying to sell these pairs of potential heterozygous for $2,500 a pair." He said, "I feel so bad for you. If you want a pair for $1,000, I'll give him $1,000."
That's cool.
So I bought the pair of hets.
Yeah.
Get this. 2 years later, we bred the pair. We hatched out a male pied.
Interesting.
And they sold for $25,000. I sold it to a guy named John Romeo in New York for $25,000. He literally drove out to our place from New York, gave me $25,000 cash. Took the animal. I was depressed because I wanted to keep it, but it was a lot of money.
But I was like, hell no, you're selling that shit.
Yeah, it's 25 grand. So but this was the interesting thing is that 5 years later, pieds had come down a lot. 5 years later, pieds had come down a lot. And John, by the way, John made a crap load of money because he raised that thing in like 8 months and produced a crap load of heteros that were selling for like 20 grand a pair for hets.
Once they were proven, that was the thing with Ernie.
It's funny.
It wasn't proven yet. So until a gene was proven, like you couldn't get big money for it.
Yeah, no one wanted to even buy it because they might have just been normals.
We bought that pair for $1,000.
Exactly. And that's the gamble you took, though.
And that's what I'm saying.
That's the gamble you took.
And that's the thing that
There's
people
a lot of
have
gambles.
to understand. Like, oh, you're just so lucky because well, no, guess
ain't
what?
lucky.
We did a lot of
little
stupid
bit.
shit. We won some. We lost a lot. Like,
we lost a lot.
But
we
second
took a lot,
mortgages on the house to
we
take
really did.
gambles on shit.
We
Like,
literally,
you don't even know the shit this guy has put me through.
We really did second mortgage the house multiple times.
Multiple times, not just one.
Yeah.
I know, man.
I don't do that anymore. I would never
Christmas.
do that anymore.
Hell no, you don't do that anymore.
But my
we
point,
don't gamble Vegas. We gamble snakes.
well, we did. We used to. Not anymore. Not anymore. But the thing that's interesting is about 5 years later, John Romeo sold me the same male back, the original male back. I think we paid like $3,500 for it. So it was nice. We made 25. We brought it back, and then I emotionally was able to come back and say, "Hey, I got my male pied that I first produced." So
and it's so funny because you were telling me today or the other day how you've never had eggs from a female pied.
Yeah, did you know that? We never bred a female pied before because we've always done. So we have a couple female pieds that are due to lay any. Well, one's due to lay any day, one's later on. But so they'll be the first pied to pied we've ever bred.
Oh yeah, because we always did hets.
We always did hets. Yeah. We did pied to het.
Because it was cheaper.
Because it was cheaper because you could sell the female pieds for big money, keep the hets for cheaper, and it just made sense. But now we have female pieds, so that's pretty exciting.